a nice guy. So let me start with asking you all one question. Have you all ever wondered if there was an easy way to find information rather than scrolling through multiple web pages? Of course, we all do in this fast-paced generation because we need things done very quickly in less time. So with all new CBSA helper, it is possible to find reliable information in a very less time. So Gentech has developed CBSA helper, a voice assistant for the Canadian travelers who wants to know about reliable information on border rules and regulation in a very less time. And the platforms are Google Actions as well as Amazon Alexa Skill. So developing a voice assistant was a very hard task for us because when we started, we had no clue and we went back and forth a couple of times. Some things worked, some things didn't work. So it was a phenomenal learning experience, and I want to thank Sujing and Ades for this wonderful project. So this is our team. Marcos is our tech lead. I'm designer as well as developer. Thomas is our team lead. Justin is designer as well as developer. Brandon is the design lead. Snehal is designer as well as developer. And I just want to take a minute and thank you all of my teammates for, I just want to say that I can think of no better people for these respective roles. So this is our agenda for design. First, we're going to talk about the user research. Then Brandon will talk about persona and scenario and dialogue scripts and dialogue flow. He will explain what are the dialogue scripts and dialogue flow are in a couple of slides. And then Justin will talk about the information architecture. Tom will take over the storyboard and user testing. Then again, this is the agenda for development. So Justin will talk about technical research and data structure, and Marcos will explain high-level information architecture, and Snehal will explain the database implementation as she has worked on it from scratch. And then we have a technical demo, then we have a conclusion, and we have a short time for question and answer. So for the user research, it was the initial and a crucial stage because we didn't know if we wanted to collect a number of various questions or we wanted to collect one question asked in various ways or different kinds of category. So we made a bunch of surveys on Google and sent out to a bunch of people and figured out that 62.7% of people wanted to know about prohibited items, and 29.1% people wanted to know about personal exemptions, and 8.2% of people wanted to know about other stuff like uh, getting money into Canada and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty clear that we wanted to focus on personal exemptions and prohibited items. That's what we did. Now Brandon will explain more about persona.
Hey, I'm Brandon, the design lead of Gentech, and I was involved with overseeing the design process of our project. So after conducting user research, we created multiple personas to help us relate to the target user. So here's an example of one. Brandon Cruz, a 35-year-old male Canadian student. He's got a pretty good tech proficiency, so he knows how to use apps and phones and technology. He doesn't travel very often, but occasionally, and he's really familiar with voice assistants such as Google Home and Alexa. So his goals are to figure out how much alcohol he can bring out duty free and to have a more efficient way to find out border rules and regulations. And he has a hard time finding reliable information online about border rules and regulations, and he finds it really annoying to search on his little phone, and he needs a hands-free way to do this. So to take it a bit further, we created a scenario to put our persona into, just again to relate to our user more. So Brandon and some friends are about to catch a flight back to Canada from Dominican. He's bought a bottle of rum, a 2 for a beer, and he wants to bring this alcohol back with him, but he's not sure if he has to pay duties on it. So instead of, with his hands full and everything, instead of, looking for, searching through multiple web pages on the CBSA website, he can just take our app out and say, hey, how much alcohol can I bring back to Canada duty free? And they'll give him a response right there. So we created those, and the next part was the design process is a bit different for a voice app than a conventional application. Normally we create wireframes at this stage, but as a voice assistant, there isn't a physical UI. So instead we create dialogue scripts. Dialogue scripts are pretty much, they just help us to see how the users will interact with the voice assistant in real life. So like a person might say like too much or too little or say things we weren't expecting. And writing a script really just helps us visualize like the conversation somebody will have with the assistant. And then, so we have these scripts and we wanted to take that a step further. So we created a dialogue flowchart, which is basically just organizing the scripts. It's kind of similar to a information architecture in the sense that we are mapping out like the navigation of the app and the experience the user will have with it. So we created different paths a user can take. For example, the optimal path would be like a user asking a question and there'd be no problems whatsoever. He would, say the question and get the answer right back, and it would go very smoothly. But then, like, we had to explore more options. Like, what if the user he didn't know what to ask, or it didn't understand him, because we all know voice assistants don't always work as planned. So we created a help path, and we just really we use these dialogue flowchart to really just figure out how to implement, or what we need to implement into the voice app to help the developers. So that's all I got on that. I'll pass this on to Justin now.
Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking about the information architecture a bit. So as you guys all know by now, creating an IA for a voice app was different than creating one for a visual app that everyone else made, that you put in app store. So making one for a voice app was different in a way because you can't put every single possible path that someone can take in your app on, sorry, one sec. So you can't put how everyone's going to take all the path that everyone's going to take in your app, because everyone has their own personal experience in the app. Everyone can navigate the app in their own way, because everyone can ask a question in a different way. Everyone's going to ask, who knows how you're going to ask how much alcohol you want to bring back into Canada. There's so many different ways. So we had to just put the optimal ways in the IA. So as you can see here at the bottom of the information architecture, we have it's spread out into 4 different categories. At the bottom, there's the personal exemptions, and you can see here just the optimal path. So how long are you going to be away from Canada? That's what CBSA helper would ask you. And then depending on how long, it changes. So if you're gone for a week, you have different exemptions, as if you're gone for 2 days or 48 hours, or 1 day, for 24 hours. So it changes based on that. So that's just the paths that someone can take in the app. And if we scroll here to the top, we can see the prohibited items. So people can also ask our app about prohibited items. And basically any keyword would trigger that intent. So if they ask about fireworks, it would be brought into different categories. Or if people don't know and they would just want to know oh, give me a list of the prohibited items, they can say that as well. And it'll list it giving different categories like food, weapons, vehicles, and such, etc. And then if people really get stuck, in the middle we have a help intent, and that'll help users just get them back on board with the app. So if they really don't know what they're doing in the app, they can just say, help, I'm stuck, or I'm lost. And then the app will help them out. Be like, oh, you can ask me about border roads and regulations. You can ask me about alcohol, tobacco, and whatnot. Yeah, that's it for the information architecture.
All right, thank you, Justin. Hi guys, I'm the team lead, and I'll give you a bit of insight on the storyboard and user testing. So what is a storyboard? Well, when you usually have a normal app, like a physical app, you'd be making wireframes, visual design. But in our case, we don't have a UI, we have a VUI, a voice user interface. So we thought of how could we, make wireframes and visual design, but for not with a voice UI. So what we did is we created a storyboard. A storyboard basically gives you, a virtual picture to users, anybody who wants to know more about our app, what it would be like. So this is our version of visual design. When it came to user testing, in the early stages of development, we were just, focused on building that foundation for our application. So we simply just went on the CBSA website and we took, information, we pasted that as our responses. But as we got further into development, we started testing our own app. We got users to test our own app, and it was clear to us that we had to change those responses. The critical issue is that they were too long. The users got, they got impatient. They got bored. The message wasn't clear and it wasn't across. One of the minor issues is that the responses were late. This is most likely due to the fact that we didn't officially publish our app on Alexa and Google respected stores. So here's an example of what we originally put from the website for our first response. This is when we were in the earliest stages of development. As you can see, you know, it's very long, and Alexa has to read through this, right? You're not reading it. Alexa is reading it to you, and you have to listen for this whole thing. So I think we can make that better. So what we did is we, you know, you can see it's significantly shorter. It gets straight to the point right at the start. You know, gives whatever the user wants to know right off the bat, and then it follows up with some more helpful information. And then towards the end, we decide, you know what, we're going to prompt the user to go for different categories since they already found the information they were looking for. And this was our strategy. Back to Justin.
Oh, sorry about that. I was muted. So, hey guys. So when we first started developing this project, we had no idea where to start. Obviously, we knew since we're going to be developing for Alexa, and Amazon owns Alexa, we're going to be using Amazon's developer console, and we're going to be using Google's Dialogflow. So right then and there, we knew that from the start. And after that, we figured out that we needed to use Node.js for the backend to host our skill. So we're basically going to have to program the app in Google's Dialogflow UI and like put some utterances, what people are going to say in there, and also do the exact same thing in Amazon's developer console. So we'd have to copy that and create a backend for the app. So we use Node.js for the backend so that Amazon and Google can send their data to an endpoint. We use Firebase's function for the endpoint so that they can receive those JSON requests, because Alexa and Dialogflow, they just send JSON requests, and then we get the JSON requests in our backend and then manage the JSON requests and what answers it's going to send back. And then after we got all that, we implemented Twilio and SandGrid in the app. We didn't actually activate it though, but in the app, so basically Twilio and SandGrid is to send an SMS or send an email if someone wants to use that. Because as Tom showed in the previous slides, it's just a really long text and some people might want to have that information sent to them. So we added that in the app so that they can see that on their phone and just be able to read it whenever and not have to go open the app and ask the same question again. They can just read that whenever they want. And based off that, we structured our data with a high-level architecture, which Marco's is going to talk more to you guys about in the next slides. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Marcos here, tech lead for Gentech. I'll be talking to you about a high-level information architecture. So as Justin mentioned, we will have the users communicating to their respective devices, the Alexa or the Google Assistant. And both of these devices have their both of these devices have their backend. So Alexa have the Lambda function and Google have the Dialogflow. Both backends will communicate with our function, which is our Node.js code hosted on Firebase function. And from them, we are saving data directly to a Firebase storage and also communicating to external services as Twilio for SMS, SendGrid for email, and we also added an SMTP code just for testing our email sending during the test part because we needed to pay SendGrid. So we instead opted to add a SMTP code. And Dialogflow has an internal API which provides a chatbot for a website. So we could use that option too. Now Snehal will be talking to you about the development on the database, and I'll be back soon for the demo.
Hi everyone, Snehal here. I have worked on the database of this project from the scratch. We are implementing Firebase Firestore in our project, and the reason we want to store data is because when a user asks question to our skill and when user get trapped between multiple questions, they tend to forget what our skill have replied to their previous questions. Implementing database was not an easy task in this project, as we had no clue how to store data from Dialogflow or Alexa console. But fortunately, everything worked out well. Now let me explain how we made it easy to access data from database. Firstly, we retry user's email from user profile and set it as a document name under which whole conversation will be saved. Now let's see how conversation will save under users directory. First, user ask a question which will be stored as a user one, as it is first question asked by user. Then skill replies maybe an answer or maybe a question back, which will be stored as skill one, and then so on. I will present a demo afterward. Conversation into that user's directory will be clear as soon as user says that they don't want conversation in email or text. Right now, in our case, Twilio and SMS is not implemented because of paid plan, but though we have it commented in our call. That's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, so Marcus back again. I'll be conducting a demo on Alexa device, which I have in front of me here. I'll just unmute it. I'll ask 2 questions and let's see how it works. Alexa, open CBSA helper.
Welcome to CBSA Helper. How can I help you?
How many bottles of wine can I bring back to Canada?
How long will you be traveling?
6 days.
You can bring up to 1.5 liters of wine, approximately 2 bottles.
Can I bring fireworks back to Canada?
You are required to have written authorization and permits to bring explosives, fireworks, and certain types of ammunition into Canada. Please refer to CBSA website for more information.
All right. So now we have Rishi conducting the test on Google Assistant device.
Hi guys, Rishi here again. So I'll be conducting the Google device and I will be asking about the prohibited items and helping them.
The mic's back on.
Okay Google, talk to CBSA helper.
Getting the test version of CBSA Helper. Welcome to CBSA Helper. How can I help you?
What are the prohibited items?
The prohibited and restricted goods are separated in the following categories. To retrieve more information, please say the name of the desired category: firearms and weapons, food, plants and animals, explosives, fireworks and ammunition, vehicles, consumer products.
Tell me more about vehicles.
You can bring back any kind of pleasure vehicles such as passenger cars, pickup trucks, snowmobiles, and motorhomes, as long as you use them for non-commercial purposes. There are many requirements that apply to the importation of vehicles. Please refer to CBSA website for more information. The mic is muted.
So that's all from Google device. I guess I'll stop sharing my screen so Snehal can show you a demo of database.
Hello everyone, Snehal here again. This is the conversation which Rishi had with device. So here skill one, Rishi asked that talk to CBSA helper. Skill says that welcome to CBSA helper, how can I help you? And then vehicles, prohibited item and all. So that's all from me.
So again, Rishi here, and just to conclude this CBSA helper, I would like to say that in previous days, if you wanted to find one information on border rules and regulation, you had to go through the CBSA website, and that would take up to 5 minutes or maybe more than that, or maybe impossible in some scenarios where people are not familiar with accessing website. But with CBSA helper, it is all possible. You don't have to go through the website, and it can be done in less than a minute. And maybe that's how technology is taking place in 21st century with AI. So that's all from us.